I'm unmuted.
People who can't make it, or if you want to share with somebody important to you or just revisit the information, you can do so. I'll send out the recording tomorrow to all the attendees. Great, so I did just start the recording, and I'll get us started here. Again, just use the chat if you have any questions. So today, myself and Judy Eisenberg, Wendy Tatlock, Bridgette San Soucie, and Sarah Hartline have put together some content for you to address the many factors that you might be considering when thinking about downsizing. And our expert panel is going to cover all the bases, making the whole process less overwhelming, much more manageable, and just overall simplified. Okay, so my name is Carey Gatto, and I'm a realtor with Keller Williams Realty. My office is located in Cambridge, right next to the Alewife T station, and I live in Stoneham. I specialize in the greater Boston area. I'm a full-time realtor with 10 years of experience in this market, and I just love to help my clients feel confident and comfortable making their real estate decisions by delivering strong communication and gentle but direct, honest guidance. I always focus on the relationship rather than the transaction. And I've built my business to almost entirely repeat and referral clients. And I have helped many people downsize during my career from a large family home to a smaller residence. I found that most, if not all of these clients felt daunted and even overwhelmed by the process initially. And after all, you know, nobody ever likes moving. It's just a pain. And if someone has accumulated a lot of stuff in the house, sometimes over decades, it's just that much more so. And because of this, people can sometimes stall and procrastinate and just not think about it. However, with action always comes momentum, which can then build confidence. And after successfully downsizing, my clients have told me that they're much happier, having less maintenance, just less worry, and more time to spend with their family, friends, and the hobbies that they love. And they often tell me that looking back, they wish they'd done it sooner. So let's take a look at some of the most common hurdles that people have about downsizing. These are the concerns that I most frequently hear from my own clients, and maybe you can relate to them. This is a very common concern. I don't know where to go. You know, naturally, people like to be close to the services and the places they're familiar with. Sometimes partners might not agree 100% on where to go. And sometimes people look at the price of condos in the city and they think, well, maybe this isn't a lucrative move for me right now. One of the first things I do with my potential clients is a buyer interview and listing consultation, where we determine what is most important to you about the move, what your new home really must have, and then also what's on the wish list. And from there, knowing what your priorities are, and with my intimate knowledge of the market, I can create a list of areas that could work for you. I'll also give you a highest price analysis of your current home and create a strategy for ensuring that you do get top dollar in today's market and can then shop for your new home very confidently. And if you need the equity in your current property in order to buy the new one, as a lot of people do, I will help you sell your home subject to finding a suitable new residence so that you are protected if for any reason you can't find a home that you absolutely love. A very common question would be whether to buy first or sell first. And I do find that selling works best. Selling first works best. If you, like I said, need the equity in your current property in order to buy the new one, I'll help you put in place that contingency for finding your new home and that you're protected and comfortable. And I highly recommend having this initial meeting, even if you're not intending to move for the next year or two or even more, because it can help you clarify what your goals really are. And I can also give you tips, easy ways to improve the value of your home while you're still there, so that you get the maximum dollar out of it when you happen to sell. In fact, it's really never too early to meet. The more time we have, the more prepared that we can be. And I will never rush you into anything. I'll adjust completely to your level of motivation. Now, if you're considering senior housing, I'll refer you to my colleague, Wendy Tatlock with Care Patrol, and she's an expert in the assisted living and nursing home market. She's here today on the call, and she'll help you navigate all the options available to you in those categories, answering any questions that you might have. And a lot of people also procrastinate because they just think, well, I have too much stuff. And it's a natural reaction. I mean, especially after staying in one place, as many people do, raising children for decades, it can seem overwhelming to have to go through everything from the attic, the basement, the closets, et cetera, et cetera. And believe me, I get that because I hate throwing things away myself. In fact, sometimes I just think I wish somebody else could do it. Well, luckily, somebody else can do it, at least help you with it. And my friend and colleague, Judy Eisenberg, is here today with the Clutter-coach. She's a professional organizer and declutterer, and she specializes in helping people declutter their lives and their homes with some really great systems that she'll talk about in just a little while. And trust me when I say that after you purge the clutter, you're gonna feel so much better. You might even decide to stay put for a little while longer. And if you have children, perhaps they're having families of their own, and you might feel that you want to take care of them financially or by being close enough to help with childcare. I actually love hearing this objection because I know that I'm working with a really thoughtful and kind person. And we've helped many people, many clients with this concern as well. What I found in my experience, it's not always the best idea to just leave a property to kids if you have more than one, because even in the most close-knit families, siblings can have, varying goals and needs in their life. So it's always good to speak with an estate attorney like Sarah Hartline of Margolis and Bloom, who is here on the call today to help you decide how to make the most of your assets and create a legacy for your family so that it's as effective as possible when you're gone. And if you have life insurance, you might be wondering how to make the best use of those benefits. You might also be thinking of purchasing life insurance for your children or your grandchildren, which could be made accessible to them in their life, for things like education or buying a home. And for that reason, we have Bridgette San Soucie with New York Life on the call today, and she can help you and your family prepare for the future using life insurance. And lastly, a lot of times people just say, wow, we have to sell, we have to purchase a home, and we have to move. How do we coordinate all of that? Well, as a realtor, I'm responsible for coordinating the sale, purchase, and even the move on your behalf. I'll start by creating a customized marketing plan for your home, using a lot of virtual tours, especially right now, and floor plans so that buyers can really see the home virtually from their couch. And it's great right now that we're doing this. I mean, the buyer showings have really cut down, even though it's a great market. Buyers are tending to see just 2 or 3 properties before they make an offer. We also do targeted social media campaigns and advertise on over 400 websites to make sure everyone knows about your home when it's on the market. And then I'll negotiate the highest possible price on your current home and help you get your new home on your terms. I'll also coordinate with all the parties involved, from the attorneys, agents, inspectors, appraisers, as well as, of course, your downsizing team, to bring the transactions to a successful close. And we have ways of making the timeline very streamlined and easier for you too, such as doing a rent back or use of occupancy so that you have a delay between the closings and make it more convenient for you. So I'll let you know what to expect every step of the way so there are no surprises and you can focus on your life. This is a review from a recent client, Carol and Bob. They downsized last year and are happily living closer to their children, their grandchildren. And I have other reviews on Zillow and also on my website if you'd like to check those out. That's my contact information. Thank you so much for listening, and I'm going to turn it over to Wendy Tatlock of Care Patrol, who is your resource for simplifying the landscape of senior living options. So I will turn it over to you, Wendy.
There we go. Thanks, Carey. Thanks so much. First, a little about me. I am a senior care advisor, and my company is Care Patrol. It's the nation's largest senior placement franchise. I am very passionate about seniors and helping them find safer senior living that really suits them. I could talk about this all day, but today I only have 10 minutes, so certainly feel free to reach out even if you just want to brainstorm or have questions. My services are free to the families that I help because I am paid by a community if you move in. And what I do is I offer expertise in financial options, complicated family dynamics, and how to assess the true strengths and weaknesses of individual communities. Today, I am going to talk about the main considerations of how to select a great fitting senior living option. I'm also going to explain the main types of housing and their pros and cons. Hello, page down. Okay. Oh, okay, sorry about that. Okay, here we go. So first, in order to find a place that's the right fit for you, I think of things in terms of 4 C's that you should consider. That's city, cost, care, and culture. So first, we're very lucky, what are your geographic interests? We are so lucky in New England to have awesome senior care 30 minutes from virtually everywhere. So you should first ask yourself, what do I want to be nearby? Do I want to be near family or friends or a church, etc.? Next, cost. Obviously, you have to look at your income and assets, but it's also helpful to think through what is in your monthly budget. What do you spend money on? Because many different places you could move to include everything except for health insurance and prescriptions. So it's helpful to have a good understanding of those 2 buckets that you're currently paying. Finally, it's also helpful to know if you or your spouse was a veteran, if you have life insurance, or if you have long-term care insurance. And my colleague Bridgette is going to talk more about life insurance and long-term care insurance, because those 2 things, if you have them, can help you pay for senior housing. The area I focus on most is care, and that's finding the right care that you need as you age. And there are really 4 different types of care I'm going to talk about. First is, do you need help with activities of daily living? Things like showering, getting around, incontinence, eating. And then memory care is a type of, often people with memory needs need help with those activities of daily living, but they also need more help in queuing and safety. So if you need help in this type of area, it drives you to certain types of housing, compared to if you have medical needs, for example, injections, feeding tubes, etc. Different places might be better suited for you. And then even if you have medical needs, it's important to understand, are they acute or are they ongoing? The final bucket here that you need to think through is, what do I want it to look like where I live? Is it really important to me to have a freestanding house with a fair amount of space, or can I be comfortable in a small apartment? Also, am I a really social person, or do I like a whole lot of privacy and like to do things on my own? Again, if you can think this stuff through ahead of time, it's easier to find a place that is the right fit. Now I'm going to move on to reviewing the 4 different senior living scenarios. I'm going to talk about their costs and their pros and cons, as well as describing what they are. The first scenario is in-home care. You can stay in your home and then bring in care, and you can bring in all types of things, from just help to running errands, help with those activities of daily living, or private duty nursing. For planning purposes, think about $30 an hour for a minimum of 2 to 3 hours. And so that's pretty affordable if you only need a little bit of care. But full-time care in your home can then be $20,000 a month. So that adds up very quickly. The most positive here is you get to stay in your home. It's a very spacious space and it's what you're used to. And it's, but on the other hand, many people find this isolating, a lot to maintain. And it's also hard to manage those home care workers too. The next scenario is a CCRC, a continuing care retirement community. These are typically a large campus where there are different types of housing available on that campus. There are often townhouses for independent living. There could be a building with assisted living, and then also a nursing home on the property. This is the most expensive option. There is typically a buy-in of several $100,000. The fees are a few $1,000s a month, and then care is often additional. The benefit here is that it's a nice, you get a lot of the benefits of staying in your house with access to a lot of the services at assisted living. But the main reason people typically choose this is to have access to high quality nursing home on site if you need it. The strength in these, in the CCRCs is really in the high quality independent living and the high quality nursing, but compared to assisted living, sometimes people find it more complicated to arrange that care because it's not really necessarily the area of focus. The next category I'm going to talk about is assisted living, and memory care is a type of assisted living. These are the buildings you see driving around. We have hundreds here in Massachusetts. You typically live in an apartment in a large building, and there's some shared common spaces, and you get help with your activities of daily living. The price can range from typically $2,500 to $13,000. Most people pay somewhere in the middle, and occasionally there's financial aid available too. What assisted living excels at is really providing help with those ADLs in an easy to access manner. Also the social aspect, people really underestimate how important that social aspect is. So many seniors are lonely, and assisted living really does a great job with that. It also does a fabulous job with dementia care if that is a particular issue. And finally, there's peace of mind. Seniors are checked on daily and communicated with the family as much as you would like. The main con of assisted living is that it's a smaller apartment, and some people worry about privacy, but you really have to think about it's your apartment based in a large community, and so you choose how much you want to be alone versus engaging with people. The final option here I want to share is a nursing home, and it's mostly because it's really just different than assisted living, and some people confuse the two. A nursing home is really used most in two different scenarios. First is if you have an accident or a stroke and you need that short-term medical care, people go there and it's covered by Medicare. The other main scenario is if you have high medical needs and you're running out of money and you can't afford to have those needs met, nurses brought into your home or into an assisted living apartment, then people plan to move to a nursing home, and as you run out of money, Medicaid pays for that. But the main con is, so yes, your medical needs are met and it's a great solution for a lot of people, but the environment just isn't as attractive as assisted living. Finally, what I want to talk about here is the importance of planning ahead, and this is something else I think my other colleagues will talk about as well. No matter which solution is best for you, there's a real benefit for thinking way further ahead than you think you might need it. With a CCRC, there is often a wait list of 2 to 3 years, and you have to be completely healthy and independent to be accepted. In assisted living, most assisted living communities will allow you to age in place even as your physical needs become pretty intense if you already live there, but many won't accept you if you already need a higher level of care. And finally, even with skilled nursing, if that's the right fit for you, if you plan ahead, you can get into some of the best skilled nursing communities in the area. There's a big difference between the great skilled nursing communities and some that aren't quite as desirable. Many have waiting lists, but if you can plan to private pay for 2 to 3 months, you can get 3 to 6 months, you can get accepted into those. All right, that is it for me. I am now going to turn over to Judy to talk about clutter and organization.
Oh. You've got to get out of the screen, Wendy.
Oh, I'm so sorry, I knew that. Let's see, stop share. Thank you. There we go, sorry about that.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's not in the right place. Know how that happened. Here we go. I'm so sorry.
Judy, I think if you go up to the top and press from beginning.
Yeah, but then it goes really fast.
Oh.
Well, I'm gonna have to do it that way. Oh, it was working before. Well, I'm just gonna do it this way. I'm sorry, folks. Let me minimize us. So I'm going to talk about when you're downsizing, you're actually living a life with less. My name is Judy Eisenberg, and I'm a professional organizer, and my business is Clutter-coach. And I help people who feel stuck and discouraged because of their clutter and disorganization issues, let go of that stuff and feel freer and more in control of their lives. I also do downsizing work. So I'm going to continue here. So most of you probably know what downsizing is. I like to refer to it as right sizing. You're looking for a place to move that's just going to be the most appropriate place for you at this moment of your life. So downsizing is actually right sizing. You may want to pare down your life, move to a smaller home, and you're looking to simplify. So why would you downsize now? Well, maybe you're becoming an empty nester and your children or grown children have moved out of the house. Maybe you're moving to assisted living, as Wendy was talking about, or you're separating or divorcing. So when will you downsize? Well, stretching your retirement budget. You may have too much upkeep and responsibility and don't want to do that so much, and may need a safer environment. There are emotional impacts to downsizing. First of all, are you really ready to move? And that can be very emotional. You may feel overwhelmed. You're feeling I'm sorry, this is crazy. Okay, anyways, you're dealing with a big loss. As Carey mentioned, you may have lived in your home for many years, and letting go is really, really hard, and you'll be in the mourning process. But you can ease those emotions. First of all, revisit the goal that you've chosen for why you're downsizing, and do that often to remind yourself that this is the best thing for yourself at the moment. You could seek some professional support with a counselor. meditating is really a good thing to do to calm yourself. You will, just for a few minutes, once or twice a day, sit down, quiet your mind, and meditate. Or you or your family can create photos of things that are really important to you that you have to leave behind or sell or give away, and make a photo album of that memory. There are positive outcomes. You have less stress in your life. It's liberating. It's a new beginning, and you have fewer responsibilities. So there are some steps you need to take for downsizing. You want to make a plan and schedule it in your calendar. The plan could be looking for a realtor like Carey to help you, figuring out when you're going to show the home, figuring out what you need to do for sorting and getting rid of stuff and packing. You want to make a list of everything you're going to take so you don't leave anything behind. And when you start sorting, start with things that do not mean that much to you. It'll be much easier to make those decisions. And decide on each item's purpose. So you're going to declutter and organize and make decisions. It can be really difficult for some people to make decisions. It's like, I don't want to figure this out. However, my suggestion is to begin with one small area in your home at a time, or one room at a time. With each item, and this will take a while, so schedule it in, ask yourself, do I love this? Do I like it or not? And do I need this? You want to decide what you're going to keep and pack to take with. And you may need to think about what you'll have to store elsewhere, perhaps in a storage unit that you'll pay for. Then you want to decide what to sell, give away, or throw away. If you're not sure what to let go of, if you have something that's been in a box that's never been opened, or you have a price tag on the item, like a dress you bought, and you know you're not going to use it, you can let that go. If the item no longer meets your needs, why keep it? And then there's that age-old saying, but I might need this someday. I might read it again sometime. Well, chances are you won't. And then there's always those unfinished projects. Some people do crafts or other hobbies, and they start a project and they get distracted, and then they start a new project. And if that's how you've been working with your projects, forget it, let it go, and move on. So if it has no sentimental value, that'll be much easier to let go of. So what I really recommend is do not do this decluttering and sorting by yourself. Only if you have to, find yourself someone to keep you accountable. Could be a family member or a friend who can help you. And make sure this person is not disorganized. That they will help you eliminate any distractions or procrastinating you might do. They'll keep you on track. Also, let them know your needs and issues. If you need to take a break every hour and rest, so be it. Or if you have ADD, let them know that you have trouble keeping your focus if they don't already know it. And then let them know if you have a goal. Do you want to do this decluttering and sorting and packing on a certain day every week? Do you have a date that you have to move? So let them know. The other possibility is hire a professional organizer like myself, and there's plenty out there who do this. That person will come in and work with you side by side, being non-judgmental, will help you sort through everything and make those decisions. So, home staging. The thing with home staging is you could ask a realtor like Carey to find someone, a professional, to help you get your home ready for viewing for the sale. But you can do a little bit of this yourself. By depersonalizing the space, you can take down any personal photos that are on the walls, any kids or grandkids drawings, any knickknacks. You want to make the space feel like the person who's coming to look, that it could be their home and not yours. If you need rent storage, if anything needs to be repaired, take care of it or hire a professional. Make sure everything is clean. If you can't do it, have a cleaning company to come in and vet. I'm going to go neutral with color, nothing dark or too bright on the walls. Open those curtains and those shades and let your light in, and also focus on curb appeal. No one wants to come and look at a house that might be theirs one day and see weeds overtaking the front garden or shrubs that need pruning. So here you see before a very dismal dark room, and with a little bit of light colored paint and some light accessories, the room will look much airier and pleasant. Here's a living room with, it's not too cluttered, but there's too many things in it. So what you can do is remove some of the stuff, rearrange, and the room will look much spacious, more spacious to you. So curb appeal before and after. Here are the weeds, and here's the difference when a professional gardener takes care of your front yard. And just so you know, I do that too. My garden business is called Sun and Shade Gardening. And if you need help when you're getting ready for an open house, you can contact me. And here is my information, and you're very welcome to contact me for a free half-hour telephone consultation, and we'll talk about your organizing and moving needs and how I could help you. So below is information, and this is actually my email if you want to contact me for helping you with your curb appeal. Thank you so much for being patient for how I messed this up.
All right, great. So I think I'm gonna take over next. So let me pull up my presentation here. Okay. So my name is Sarah Hartline. I'm an estate planning attorney with Margolis and Bloom. I've been doing estate planning exclusively for about 8 years now, and I'm going to talk a little bit about estate planning in the context of downsizing. So, some of you may already have estate planning documents, in which case you may be thinking, what does this have to do with downsizing, and why do I need new ones? So we typically recommend that clients update their estate planning documents every 5 years or whenever you have a major life transition. Well, downsizing, whether you're moving to a condo, assisted living, or a nursing home, is definitely a major life event that triggers the need to review your plan. Or alternatively, if estate planning has been something that has been largely lingering at the bottom of your to-do list for a while now, this is a great time to tackle this task and have one less weight to carry on your shoulders as you're moving into your new home. So the two most important estate planning documents, in my opinion at least, are the power of attorney and the healthcare proxy. These appoint someone to make healthcare decisions for you in the event that you're incapacitated or hospitalized. I tell everyone it doesn't matter if you're 18 and in great health, you still need a healthcare proxy and a power of attorney. If you don't have these, or if you're going through your home and you're in the process of decluttering and you can't actually physically put your hands on them, I recommend making this a top priority. Furthermore, if you can put your hands on them, be sure to make sure that they're up to date and make sure that there aren't any changes. So for example, any updates to your agents or their contact information. In the event you are hospitalized, you want doctors to be able to contact your agents, and also some financial institutions with respect to the powers of attorney actually might not accept a power of attorney that's more than 5 years old. So even
Sarah, your slides aren't changing on the presentation.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
So it has the power of attorney and healthcare proxy up?
No, we're still on the cover slide.
Oh, okay. Let me see. I don't know why that's not.
If you use in the presenter view that you're using, you might find in the bottom left of your screen something that will light up if you hover there, and that would let you move through the slides.
Okay, let me see. Let me just try this one more time, see if this works. Is it going now?
Yes.
Okay, great. All right, so powers of attorney and healthcare proxy. So, right, so I was talking about making sure that you don't have any changes, and also about the fact that some financial institutions might actually want your power of attorney to be signed within the past 5 years. So even if you don't have any changes, you might want to actually re-sign those or update those. So with respect to some of the other still very important documents, such as your will or your trust, selling your home can definitely mean making potential revisions or other updates to your plan. If you live in the greater Boston area, for example, your house may be your largest asset. And if you are in a stage in your life where you do anticipate needing long-term care in the near future, you may be worried about how best to protect that asset or protect the proceeds from the sale. The important thing here is really that everyone has a different situation and different goals. So for one person, what's called a revocable trust may make sense, which is a trust that could be changed over time. Or for someone else, a irrevocable trust, which is typically used for asset protection purposes, may make more sense. And then still, for various reasons, a third person may choose instead to do what's called a life estate deed. A life estate deed is when you transfer what's called the remainder interest in a property to an intended beneficiary, such as your children, and retain certain rights to still live and use the property. Each option has different pros and cons with respect to taxes, asset protection, and maintaining control and access to equity in the real estate. I often hear people say things like, well, we're just going to put the new condo in our son's name, for example. That's something my neighbor did and recommend it. Don't fall into what I call the neighbor trap. Definitely, this is something that you want to consult an attorney on. Transferring assets into a child's name can have serious tax and other negative consequences. So it's definitely not something you want to take on without knowing the risks. Even if you do want to move forward with creating a new estate plan or updating your existing plan, you might be worried about the idea of meeting with an attorney in person because of COVID concerns. Luckily, our office, like many other estate planning offices, are now 100% virtual. There's actually recent legislation that's been passed that actually allows for people not only to meet initially with an estate planning attorney online via Zoom or GoToMeeting, but can actually sign their estate planning documents now online on one of these platforms with a virtual notary and virtual witnesses. So I actually tell people that now is a great time to review your planning and to even, if you're not meeting with an attorney virtually, to have a virtual meeting with family members to check in and see make sure that everybody has a plan that's in order and that you can easily access each other's documents if needed. So continuing on the theme of early is better, starting the process earlier rather than later in the downsizing process can certainly save you a lot of stress. So I often meet with clients who are rushing to get things signed, documents signed right before a move, or rushing to make a decision on how to purchase or title a new condo. And starting the process early ensures that you have time to make the decisions properly and can provide you certainly with a great deal of peace of mind as you're moving on through this new stage in your life. I know estate planning is something that's easy to avoid, but failure to take action can definitely cause more stress, time, and expense down the line. If something happens to you or a loved one and you don't have these documents in place, it could mean your family needing to go to court to go through what's called a guardianship or conservatorship process, which can be very time-consuming and stressful. So as someone who has worked with families that are going through that process, I can't say strongly enough how important it is to tackle these things earlier rather than later. I'm putting up my contact information here. This has my email address. It also has our website, which has a lot of great guides and information, blog posts on a lot of different topics. That is very helpful to my clients. I am often told how helpful the website is, so definitely check it out if you have more questions, and also definitely feel free to email me with any questions or call me, and that is my direct dial number there. And with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I will put this contact information in the chat, and then I will pass things over to Bridgette San Soucie, who is going to be talking some more about different types of insurance and retirement plans.
So hello everyone, my name is Bridgette San Soucie, and I am an agent with New York Life insurance company. I specialize in insurance, long-term care, retirement planning. Right now we're living in a time when most of us do not have, pensions like our parents and grandparents did in their time. And also with the advances in healthcare, we're living longer and running the risk of running out of money in retirement. We generally do not plan for unexpected events, which can cut into the money you've saved so hard your working years for. I'm also authorized to work with AARP members for insurance and final expense planning. Most of us are not sure if we're prepared to retire. It's a common question, and something you shouldn't be afraid to ask a financial professional. Am I okay? It's easier than just hoping we're all set than to plan. Trust me, I get it. So common concerns are run out of money, we're living longer, and this is a real concern and what the topic seems to be these days. A little bit more about me and why I do this. I am a mom to 2 adult children. I have a 24-year-old daughter who's also a professional. She delivers babies, and a son in college going his 3rd year. So being an insurance agent and having had these conversations, I do educate my children on the importance of planning early. I just want them to get started so that they're not like me in my 40s starting to do everything. So the conversation came up one day about long-term care. I'm right in that sweet spot of I have adult children and I have parents in their 70s. So I would probably volunteer to be my parents' caregiver. So I asked my kids, something was to happen to me, who's going to take care of me? And my daughter very jokingly said, I'm going to put you in a diaper, roll you over to a picture window, and I'm going to keep you there all day. We kind of laughed at that, but it really had me thinking, what am I going to do? I need to plan for unexpected events, health events, so that my children's siblings will not be the ones taking care of me. So I say that because this conversation was over 2 years ago. So I know the anxiety of planning. So before I actually applied for long-term care insurance for myself to make sure that I was set for my future, it took 2 full years. So when I'm working with a client or I'm having a conversation with a friend, trust me, I understand. It's a very real, scary thing to talk about, to actually say it out loud. And I've been through it myself. So this is why I really love doing what I do. I always suggest that people work with financial professionals for planning. Again, from personal experience working with my parents, we tried to do everything ourselves. Too late, a lot of things have happened, and we realized it would have been so much easier to hire an estate attorney or just to talk to someone for, what the right decisions would have been. So, we have just to kind of reiterate who's on the call today, Carey Gatto for downsizing to a smaller home or just what will fit your needs going into retirement. A care professional like Wendy to find out the best options for care if this is needed for yourself or your loved ones. Always to organize your life and curb appeal with Judy. And Sarah will make sure that all of your legal needs are met. It will save you a lot of time and money in the long run. This slide, what you're seeing right now, this is what most of us rely on and expect in retirement. One of us will all fit into one of these categories of, different types of retirement assets that you have. So I can make this available if anyone wanted to, check off what they have, going into retirement. So I know it's a lot to kind of look at on the screen. And this next one is what I call what keeps me up at night and what keeps most of us up at night. It's really all of our desires of what we want in our retirement, like just to have fun, to be around your children, to be able to travel, not have to worry about healthcare costs or long-term care events. So all these are a list of, I would say, common concerns for most people of just very simply what keeps you up at night. A couple of things I do help with, and I have myself, we do have different options, with New York Life. Like Wendy had mentioned, if someone had long-term care assistance and you needed care, it's nice to be able to have the choice of, maybe having someone come in home or picking out the facility, opposed to having your assets kind of spent down for the state to pay. So there are different options for folks, dependent on your situation, your financial situation, your health, that we can help with. And life insurance is one of those. If you do have life insurance, there are riders, called a chronic care rider that can be added to it. So these, if anyone is interested, had any questions, it costs nothing to just have a conversation, and then we can see, if we're the right fit to help you or to suggest someone else who would be able to help you. I know my presentation was a little quick. I can't go into too many details, but a couple of takeaways is please review what you have in place now to make sure it works for you and your family. Work with a professional can really save you time and money in the end. Start planning as soon as possible. I encourage my children who are in their 20s to start planning, and they've done so. Talk to your other family members, let them know your wishes. Review your insurance if you have life insurance. Like many other products and services, your insurance also can become outdated. As life changes, life events happen, insurance is one of those things that you also want to have someone take a look at, and we do that for free. As Sarah said, just like New York Life is also 100% virtual. We do all of our meetings by Zooms. All of our documents could be signed online. So we kind of avoid that personal interaction, which I still love, and I hope we get back to that. But business is still being done, virtually. So that is my contact information. I know it's also in the chat, and Carey will send it out. And please feel free to reach out to any of us with any help or questions. Thank you all. I really appreciate it. I'm going to turn this back over to Carey Gatto to wrap up.
Thank you, Bridgette. Thank you, all of our presenters today. It's such an awesome team. I think anybody would be so lucky to work with these people, these experts in their fields. So I wanted to open it up for questions right now. We have some time, and if you have any questions, sorry, bear with me. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. And okay, let me try to get back to the chat. Or maybe if somebody else can see it, because it seemed to have gone away when I shared my screen. Kathy, you have your hand raised. Let me see, I can unmute you here. Thanks.
Yeah. Hi. So this is for, Sarah Hartline. Sarah, sometimes financial institutions don't recognize even recent powers of attorney, even if that power, the power to say, I've encountered this a couple of times with folks I've worked with and with the states I've helped with. Even when I had a very specific power of attorney, let's say with a very well-known large brokerage house, which allows for buying and selling of stock, they've declined to recognize. What do you counsel folks about this in advance and during the process?
Sure, definitely. So it is a problem in terms of getting a power of attorney, even if it is within the past 5 years. It can be an issue that I've had clients run into. There's a few different things that you can do. One is to actually, once you sign the power of attorney, so if you have all of your accounts at a certain brokerage institution or a bank, to actually contact that bank or brokerage institution at the time of signing the power of attorney to see if it can be recognized or if they have their own specific forms that they want you to use. Our powers of attorney are generally durable powers of attorney. So they are in effect at the time that you sign them. So by actually proactively contacting the institution or the bank, if there are additional forms that they want signed, you could do that at that time. Instead of waiting until you actually need to use it and then having to scramble a bit. I have heard just sort of anecdotally that the smaller banks, are easier to work with as opposed to some of the larger institutions. So that's certainly a personal choice in terms of how you do your banking. But then a third option is setting up a trust. So sometimes people decide to set up a basic revocable trust where they can actually name a spouse or a child or other trusted individual as a co-trustee, and then you avoid that issue of having the power of attorney recognized. So there's a few different options to navigate it. It is frustrating though, because unfortunately, even if the bank is wrong, if they're saying no and not recognizing it, it can certainly create a lot of unnecessary stress, especially in the event of an emergency.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Does anyone else have any questions for the panel? You can either put them in the chat or raise your hand. And I'm also going to upload to the chat a document which will have a helpful checklist on it, so that it's something you can print out and put in a visible place on a bulletin board or even on the fridge. And that way you can kind of track your progress, satisfying to check things off a list as you go. And it will also have all of our contact information on it as well. So as things come up, please just don't hesitate to reach out. It's definitely, like I think all of us have mentioned, better to start the wheels turning a little bit sooner and have the time and not feel so much under stress when there is a time element to all of this. So reach out anytime. And I'll also email out the checklist tomorrow as well with the recording. So you'll have it there too.
Thank you, everyone. Oh, Kathy. You're on mute, Kathy.
If somebody else has another question, I'll let them go first. I don't want to hog the questions. Like Gila, why don't you take Gila's question before I go?
Sure, I'll read that. So it says, why is it in the bank's interest to refuse to recognize a power of attorney? It's in the bank's interest because, I would say, unfortunately, banks can get nervous about recognizing powers of attorney. So they can be concerned just in terms of their legal department about worrying about recognizing a power of attorney and then having it turn out, for example, that somebody has executed a new one in the meantime, and that one might be revoked or outdated. So I think in general, banks just get nervous and they worry about their own liability of letting somebody else withdraw a large amount of money from one of your accounts. And so it makes them nervous, and that there's really no con for them saying no. So it's much easier for them to say no and have you jump through a few extra hoops than to say yes. And I think that does go back to why it is often easier, my clients find, working with smaller banks, because they do have more of a reputation within the community, and as opposed to a larger bank where if they make things difficult, it might not have any sort of repercussions for them. So Kathy, did you have another question?
Mine is for Bridgette, actually.
Okay.
Bridgette, I have a question about long-term care insurance. I understand that there are typical plateaus, I don't know what the right word would be, where the cost of purchasing jumps, and that many people might do a cost-benefit analysis about when to strategically purchase long-term care insurance. Can you tell me what the ages at which the monthly cost typically takes a big jump, what those brackets are?
So thank you, Kathy. Like most insurance long-term care, the younger you are, the less expensive it's going to be. The minimum right now to kind of protect your home in Massachusetts up to $800,000 is like $125 a day benefit. Most people kind of start with there, or $150 a day benefit. But cost, and it jumps, usually you'll see like a price change difference in 5-year increments, but it really depends on age, sex, male or female, and health. Long-term care, you hear from everyone, it is a hard one to get, but there are other options. We have other options, Asset Flex, where you put in a lump sum of money in, and it's use it or you don't lose it. If you don't need it, you can get that money back. So there are different options. If someone has health issues and are not able to qualify for it, there are so many different financial avenues we can look at to put money aside, and then when you need it, you can get that money to help with care costs. So it's a hard answer to answer specifically, because it's going to really go by several factors. But I'm going to say the younger you are, and if, I'll use myself for an example. I'm 48, 49 insurance age. I actually got approved for long-term care, but it took me 2 years. I was so, watching so many people not be approved, I was so nervous. And so someone in good health like myself, I have I think $1,500 a year premium. That's less than $130 a month. So, putting myself out there and just letting you know, I'm healthy 49-year-old, and I did get approved, but not every, like high blood pressure, not everything is going to deny you. We really have to go by each individual's, kind of background and health issues and and see what underwriting thinks. Sorry for the long-winded answer.
But there's a trade-off. I put this in the chat, right? There's a trade-off, which is you can certainly, like, you could buy it when you're 40.
Yeah.
But you're going to be paying for a lot longer. You're going to be giving them a lot of your money. So everybody has to do a cost risk analysis. And I was wondering if you had some insight about that.
Exactly. So it really depends on okay, so look at other factors. I have grandparents who have lived to their mid-90s. I have healthy parents who are in their 70s with no health issues. The fact that I may live to be to my 90s is great. So I don't have any underlying, I don't have grandparents I don't have cancer in the family. So usually when we look at the risk, Alzheimer's, cancer, there's so many different things. If it runs in the family, the likelihood that this could be you is really going to determine how we have that conversation of getting it earlier rather than waiting until you can't get it. So I don't know if that kind of helps. The asset flex is more you're putting money in, but if you don't need it, you get that money back. The insurance company's not keeping it. So you kind of look at it like car insurance. You're paying, you're not going to get the money back, but if you get in an accident, it's well worth it because now you can get your car replaced. So insurance works typically the same way, but there are different options to not just give your money to an insurance company and now you live forever. There are options too that come with a death benefit. So you're paying the premiums, and if you never end up using it and you happen to pass away, but now your family has that money.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Okay, we do have one other hand up, Faye Strickler.
Hi. Sorry, I missed the beginning of this, but I wanted to ask, because I'm thinking of selling my house. I was before COVID happened. And I'm just wondering, in all of these fields that you're talking about, how COVID has affected what you do. For example, I can't imagine looking at a house right now. I could do it virtually. I could look at the rooms or something, but where I'm a senior, I wouldn't want to be going around. I'm not quite ready yet to do that, and I don't think any of us should be that are older. So I'm just wondering if each of you could speak to that. I know it's very, unpredictable at this point what's going to happen. So
I can speak to that, Faye, as a realtor. So I'm actually working with a couple right now who are downsizing, and the majority of the listings do have virtual Matterport tours done for them, created for them, so that yes, you can virtually walk through the home, and it's very effective right from the safety of your home. And what that allows for is that you might, instead of, before COVID, you would typically go, on average, see 12 to 15 homes in person before making an offer. Now you really, on average, buyers are seeing 2 or 3 in person before making an offer. So you're really narrowing it down online with all the resources and tools that we have. It's also possible to do like a Zoom walkthrough if you'd rather have a little bit more of a personal feel, whereas like I could walk through the home, have you on Zoom or FaceTime and show you the home that way. And it's more interactive that way. And then of course, if and when you do get to the point where you want to see the home in person, we're using all the PPE, the protective equipment that you would use, to go to the grocery store or any other necessary errand that you might be doing. So we have gloves, masks, booties, and we're using hand sanitizer. And we're also asking the sellers if they still live there. Sometimes they don't and it's vacant, which makes it easier. But if they're living there, we would ask them to have, the lights on and the closet doors open. So we wouldn't really be touching anything when we're in the home. And of course, they're not there either during the showing. So we're taking every possible step that we can to mitigate the risk for our buyers and sellers and really making it quite safe.
This is Judy Eisenberg, your Clutter Clear coach, talking. For the last few months, professional organizers have not been going into people's homes because of this pandemic. However, there is a form of organizing called virtual organizing. And that means that the client's in their home, the organizer is in their own home, and you can either FaceTime or Zoom and work with them that way, helping the client to sort through, well, they do it themselves, and it's a good learning experience for them to sort through items and make decisions. And you're there to help make the decisions, but ultimately they make the final one. The other thing is there are some professional organizers now going into people's homes to help them out. And again, they're wearing masks, they're staying 6 feet apart, they're wearing protective gloves. The homeowner's wearing a mask, and sometimes the organizer will go in the next room and do FaceTime with them. So there's a couple things that can be done right now.
Thank you. Can I just ask, I mean, how long do you think that you're going to get back to normal pretty soon with all the things that you're doing, or you just don't know yet? Because it just seems, I mean,
Are you talking to any one of us in particular, or just all of us?
All of you, I guess. I'm sorry, it's so
well, no, I think
unclear what I'm saying, because I feel like myself, I had surgery and I was recovering, and then COVID came, and so I don't feel like I'm back to normal in my house, you know, never mind decluttering and things like that. So you have businesses, you have things that you have routines, and you have skill sets and things like that. So it's different, but I just find from my standpoint, from the standpoint of people who are trying to do these things, I find it extremely difficult to get back to any kind of normal. And I don't think normal is going to be what it used to be. And it shouldn't be in some cases. So, you know.
Faye, I can give you an example for organizing. I have a client who is actually a hoarder. She's not moving, she rents her apartment. And in February, we had our first session for 3 hours. And then this whole COVID thing came down upon us. So I haven't met personally with her in these months. But what we did the other day, I'm also a coach. And so we had a coaching session via FaceTime. And she came up with some goals to do on her own in her home, different little steps she'd take for the next few days, and said she'd be accountable for them and she would let me know. She would like text me when she got these things done. And that's another way to go. Like if you had clutter, you could have an organizer or myself do a coaching session and talk you through goals that you would create on your own, because everything comes from within you, and make progress that way.
I can kind of say, you know, with us, although we're working, you know, by Zoom and virtually, it really goes to someone's comfort level too. You know, I was working with a client who is in Massachusetts, and I said if this person was insistent to meet face to face, and I said, you know, for safety reasons, we're trying not to do that until, you know, there's a cure or something. But we end up meeting at a local park and sit in the, you know, 6 feet away, a little bit more, had our masks on and just had a conversation. So this person was more comfortable just kind of being face to face. So we took the proper precautions and we met. It was a nice day out and just met at a park and talked as if I was sitting in their home around the kitchen table. This is just almost our new norm until something, you know, we have a cure or something happens. But, you know, with just being respectful of the safety for other people, it really is kind of the comfort of how someone feels about, you know, meeting.
There was a question here about the impact of COVID in the senior communities and how does that affect, you know, that decision-making process. I can talk to that. I mean, there's several considerations, and, you know, again, everyone's case is different. I think this is another theme we're seeing here, but first and foremost, that sometimes it is safer in a community than at home. Some people home by themselves. Now people are realizing it's not safe anymore, so they move out. Right now, things are opening up in the communities. Some are starting to accept new residents. Some are, you know, people were confined in their rooms at one point. Now they're opening that up. Different ones have different plans depending on how they were impacted by COVID. But the communities I work with, for the most part, have been very thoughtful and are trying to just balance the best of both worlds. You know, people have a sense of community, a need for socialization, but you have to balance that with safety. And so these communities are making a decision on a day-to-day basis. How can we give people the sense of quality of life that is close to normal, but still keep them safe? So in terms of thinking through how to make a decision on timing now, there's definitely going to be a window this summer and this fall where communities are going to be accepting new people. And so you have to decide, you know, is my family member safe now? Do I want to move out now? Knowing that perhaps next winter there could be another bout of it. Do I want to get in before that or not? But I think what's interesting is too, to factor in, the communities have learned so much about how to deal with COVID, and some communities are managed very much so better than others. And I can help you think that through if you're considering some different things. But, you know, to go into a community that is very well managed and knows and has already handled COVID, has experience with it, knows how to prevent it, knows how to stop it, I do think that's a safe environment for next year. But anyway, it's very complicated and it's very personal for everyone's situation. And again, if anyone wants to talk more about this, my services are always free to the families I help, so I'm happy to talk to you free about it at any time.
Thank you, Wendy. I want to make sure we're respectful of everyone's time. Maybe there's time for one more question, and then I think we can refer you to our contact information. You can reach out to any of us for a free consultation, you know, or just to ask questions, like I said earlier, because everyone's situation is obviously very personal and very different. So if anyone has one last question, we can take it now. No? Okay. Well, great. I'm so glad everybody who joined us today was able to make the time, and thanks for the questions, and we look forward to being of service to you. So please don't hesitate to reach out, and thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.